Hello and welcome to another episode of Game Night. We're going to do things a little bit differently this time around because we're kind of strapped for time. We should have had this episode out already, and we're kind of doing this without the camera, picture-in-picture stuff, just because it's a hell of a lot quicker.
Yeah, that's what all the crazy kids are doing nowadays.
Yeah, you know. So if you want to check out more episodes with picture-in-picture, the gamesrawpodcast.tumblr.com is the place to go, or youtube.com/gamesrawpodcast. Tonight we'll be playing lots of FPS stuff. It's like FPS special, Medal of Honor Warfighter and Call of Duty Black Ops 2, which just came out. Medal of Honor's been out for a little while, so it's kind of interesting to I always say face these two games off, but we're not going to kind of do that too much. We're just going to give our opinions on them. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to do it without any picture-in-picture. So anyway, let's start with Medal of Honor Warfighter. From EA and Danger Close Studios. We weren't big fans of the last Medal of Honor, which came out like 2 years ago.
No.
But anyway, let's see if this is any better. This is running on the Frostbite 2 engine. It's kind of like...
I'm not digging the textures on the gun.
No, I mean, it's... The problem here is obviously it's like Battlefield 3. You've got it's like a 1.7 gig install on the first disc and the multiplayer. The second disc is all like campaign and that. So basically, like, you know, it should look as good as Battlefield 3, and I don't know. I think I can't remember Battlefield 3 looking a bit nicer than this game, but
I mean, it doesn't look terrible.
No.
But a lot of people have said that it's not the worst looking game in the world.
No, it's not the worst looking game by far, but there's still some weird little graphical glitches. We've pre-recorded all this footage that you're watching at the moment.
Yeah, I've not played any of this, so my opinion is going to be very valid. Looks cool though.
Breaching, which is in just about every first-person shooter game at the moment. You know, Medal of Honor Warfighter is no exception. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But as far as we decided we'd pre-record the footage and kind of just commentate over the top of it. So that's what we're doing tonight. It's a little bit different.
I'm kind of liking this though.
Yeah. It's all right.
Not being on camera, I'm sitting here in my underwear, scratching my nuts, and it's good.
Seriously.
I'm not. Honestly, I'm not.
So yeah, there's some like weird texture pop-ins and stuff, and some weird stuff where like characters who are supposed to like follow you and stuff don't, and because of that, the campaign can't progress. People getting stuck in walls. Weird shit. I've seen a lot of weird stuff playing this game, but so we just saw the breaching stuff. That's kind of. They make kind of a big deal about unlocking different ways to breach, but overall you just kick the door in, so it kind of doesn't really matter. But it's kind of a cool little thing to unlock, I guess. We're about to see a bit of sniping.
See, I can't help but... Okay, this is all leading up to a bit of sniping.
Yeah.
It does feel fairly sort of familiar.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it's something that hasn't been done before.
Well, I think that's the problem, like, overall with first-person shooters, because we've kind of seen and done it all anyway. So, like, you know, Medal of Honor really, it used to be on top of its game. It used to be like one of the kind of, honestly, like pretty much the first-person shooter. It was kind of like ahead of its time in some ways, and then kind of Call of Duty came along and kind of stole a lot of the thunder from Medal of Honor, and so they've been kind of like they put out a lot of really shitty games and kind of struggled and gave it kind of a new lease of life 2 years ago with the cave simulator that was Medal of Honor, and I think they tried a little bit harder to try and make this a little bit more action orientated while still trying to keep it semi-realistic. A lot of the missions and stuff apparently based off of true stories, things that have happened and that, but take that with a pinch of salt, obviously. As far as story goes in this game, you know, we really should be talking about the sniping, but like, as far as the story goes in this game, it's really not very compelling. It's kind of like one of those things where like they're trying to tell a story and shit, but it's like you kind of don't really care enough about the characters or the things that are happening to them. It's just like exactly. They try, I guess. It's a much more kind of it's a much more valiant effort than 2 years ago. But the sniping stuff's cool. You've really got to kind of take into account where you're kind of placing your shots and stuff, and you know, just because they're in the crosshairs doesn't mean that you've got to hit, because obviously you've got things like wind resistance and real life things to kind of consider, you know, which is cool. I mean, you know, there's stuff
like
to
bullet drop and
all that kind of stuff. So, you know, it works, I guess.
Yeah.
Sniping. It's, you know, it's not really done.
There you go.
Yeah, it's not really. It's kind of been done this way before, so it's nothing major. That's the kind of the problem with Medal of Honor. It's kind of like everything's kind of come before it, and it kind of feels like treading familiar ground all the time.
I have to say, Frostbite was sort of touted as this kind of amazing engine. You know, I've seen what it can do. It does look amazing, but those buildings there, they didn't look.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't look as good as it really should.
Yeah.
So we skip forward a little bit to some more campaign. We actually see like a vehicle section, which is something I think the first game, a lot of first-person shooters have. Yeah, I think there's like ATV stuff in the first game, which just kind of, it was like to get from A to B. It wasn't really much point in it.
Yeah.
It was just kind of shoveled in there for the sake of it. But there's this whole kind of sort of chase sequence which we're about to experience, which kind of goes on a little longer than maybe it should, but it's kind of interesting to kind of play this as a first person shooter, but we're going to drive now. That's kind of interesting, and the fact that I've been playing a lot of Need for Speed Most Wanted lately didn't help.
No.
Because this whole thing feels like a driving game built by people that make first person shooters. If you get what I'm saying.
Well, that's kind of good, because that's what it is. Yeah,
no, but it's like it doesn't feel. You expect the driving to feel a certain way, right? So it takes a lot of getting used to. But what's kind of good about it is it doesn't really punish you too much. Like, there's stuff to hit, but it doesn't really slow you down unless it's another vehicle or like a wall or something really ridiculous. So there's that to consider. It's not, it doesn't really punish you. The whole point is that it is kind of scripted in that you can't catch up with the target vehicle before you're supposed to. So you go on this massive kind of chase sequence, which is kind of cool, probably the first time you do it, and then after that it's kind of like, oh, this...
It looks alright.
Yeah, no, it's fine, but like the feel of the driving feels
not seeing any cardboard boxes yet, though.
No, true. I know it's cheesy 70s cop music. But yeah, it's not. I don't feel that this game's showing off the potential of Frostbite 2. Obviously, it's being played on console. It's dumbed down slightly, but still, I think Battlefield 3 looked a lot nicer than this, and it's a bit of a shame, really, because I'll get to which game I think looks better later, but I feel like they really could have put a lot more effort into the look of this game. It does look nice, but you install like a 1.7 gig of these extra textures, and it just kind of feels like, what has it done? What is this extra install really given me? And it doesn't seem to have done a lot. So
did you play it without the install?
I haven't tried it without the install, so I'm presuming it looked worse without it. So I don't know, but I'm just saying.
Things sort of.
There's a little bit of screen tearing, but I think that's down to the capturing of the footage. I don't remember it being that bad when I actually played it.
Yeah. But Frostbite 2 is now kind of EA's go-to engine.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, this is probably, probably the fifth or sixth, well, I don't know, fourth, fifth game, I don't know, that's used it. I mean, obviously Battlefield 3.
You know what I'm going to bring up?
Need for Speed The Run, I think, was another one. There's been a couple, but yeah.
Well, apparently the next Dragon Age game will run on the Frostbite, and the next Mass Effect as well.
Oh, shit.
So
that'd be interesting.
It is definitely EA's.
It's taken over from Unreal, I think. Kind of like, and obviously, like you say, it's EA's thing, so maybe it's just EA using it. I don't know. I think it's probably exclusive to them.
You think Unreal? You think how much that's progressed over the last 5 years or so, and what they've managed to push out of it? I think Frostbite 2, they're still yet to find that sweet spot where they can utilise it to its full. Potential.
But overall, it looks better than a lot of the kind of run-of-the-mill first-person shooter crap that's out there.
I see what you mean about the chase sequence.
Yeah,
It's slightly too long.
Yeah, I mean, we have edited the footage somewhat to kind of condense things tonight because obviously we've got 2 games to talk about. But yeah, it just kind of dragged a little bit. There's a lot. I mean, that's the problem with this game. It's like it's trying to aim for realism while at the same time being exciting and have the kind of action set piece stuff that you expect from games like Call of Duty and stuff. But it kind of pads it out with kind of monotonous. Like, don't get me wrong. Obviously, like the majority of Call of Duty is just like, you know, pop and shoot, kind of like, you know, take cover, pop out, shoot some motherfuckers. You know, that's kind of like the basic gameplay, right?
Yeah.
That kind of does that, but draws it out to a much longer kind of. It kind of outstays its welcome on certain levels. I feel like you do the same things, and you think, I wish this was kind of over and we could progress to something else.
Yeah.
That's the kind of problem with it, and I think that's kind of the problem with the first Medal of Honor as well, is that it just seemed very
formulaic.
Very formulaic, but at the same time, it was drawn out as well. It was like, I wouldn't have minded if the game was shorter. It gave me like instant gratification and that, as far as like, you know, as much as a first-person shooter can and stuff. But like, yeah, you know, and like, it just feels like they've taken a short experience that should have been shorter and kind of like stretched it out. And I guess it doesn't feel quite so bad with this one, but it does feel like that at certain points.
I will say though, just driving through this town, I'm actually starting to get slightly more impressed by it, just with like the pedestrians.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, there's definitely things to be wowed about, but like, maybe that's partly why graphically it's suffering a little more than maybe like a Battlefield 3. I don't know. There's definitely some issues that I think have carried over with the engine.
Yeah.
And namely, I mean, you may or may not see this in the footage that we put together, but like, I noticed that at certain points where I'm in cover and there's no possible way I can be shot, yet I'm getting shot at and I die. And that was a major problem with Battlefield 3. It's something they kind of patched, but it kind of still happened from time to time.
Yeah.
Like where, don't get me wrong, I know bullets can pass through walls and stuff, but like, they can see you when where you really can't be seen, or like, you know, they find ways to shoot at you that are impossible. There's no way that they could shoot you or hit you from where they are and where you are. It's just kind of one of those things. But like, it manages to do that. So like, the AI is either just really ridiculously sharply tuned, or, you know, like, I don't know, it's just a glitch where, you know, they can shoot through walls that shouldn't be shot through, or shoot through cover or some shit. I don't know, but like, it happens. It's happened a few times while playing this, so it's definitely something that I had an issue with in Battlefield 3. It was worse with Battlefield 3, but it's something that's carried over. And it's obviously an issue with the engine, I guess. I don't know, but it definitely feels like the kind of game, because obviously DICE made Battlefield 3. They pretty much created the engine. They know what they're doing with it. This, as far as I know, hasn't had hands-on from DICE. This is Danger Close, who obviously work very closely with them. Yeah. But it feels like another developer utilising a great engine, just not getting the maximum out of it. So there is this weird thing where there's these kind of like pre-rendered sequences like now, and they use a lot of that to tell the story, these cutscenes and stuff. But there's a lot of weird sort of almost creepy, uncanny valley stuff where they've tried to make certain characters in the game look realistic, but they just look creepy as fuck.
Yeah. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how Frostbite progresses.
Yeah.
Really, especially with like next gen and everything,
absolutely.
and how it looks a bit familiar. I'm sure I've seen that hat before.
Yeah. Well. So this is another sequence. We've missed a little bit of the storyline cutscenes out and just headed on straight on to the next section. But a little bit of stealth stuff, which I actually kind of enjoyed. I actually felt this was kind of one of the high points of the game. It wasn't anything that hadn't been done before, but it was just kind of a nice break from, we just shot a load of people, we just had this car chase thing, now we're going to a little bit of a stealth thing. It was kind of nice, and it kind of broke the action up a little bit, and it was kind of paced right, I think. I actually kind of enjoyed this bit.
I have to say, you're saying, it's not anything we've not seen before. This actually, really does remind me of like a sequence in, I can't remember if it was Modern Warfare or Modern Warfare 2. It just looks maybe slightly nicer than that, but it definitely doesn't feel...
It reminds me of a bit of Black Ops, actually.
Yeah.
Where you're almost exactly like Black Ops.
There's a little bit of all of that, but...
The whole NARM sequence, kind of.
Yeah.
That's kind of like, you know, you're trying to be stealthy and then you blow everything up. Yeah.
It does feel like, it's sort of a mix of Black Ops and Modern Warfare.
Yeah,
and it's kind of... I think this is always going to suffer because Call of Duty has such a huge following.
Yeah.
That anything that EA do is always going to be compared to, even though we say we're not trying not to compare and trying to be impartial. There's going to be comparisons.
Yeah, no, we'll give in our opinions and stuff. I think unless Activision and really drop the ball on the Call of Duty franchise, I think this is how it's going to be. But I still think these games will do okay. I think the Battlefields will fare better than the Medal of Honors. I still think this is a much better effort. I think if they continue, if they get a third Medal of Honor game out of the reboot, if they can pull that off, and if they can make it even better, and if it's more impressive, if they can do stuff, you know, they like to bring these games out just before Call of Duty, so people can kind of maybe buy them and play them, finish them before Call of Duty gets around, and at least that way they've purchased the game or whatever. Because some people buy both, you know. I mean, there are those people, but honestly, I think...
Saying no names.
No, I'm just saying. You know, I kind of was intrigued because it looked a lot better than the first one, and I was really hyped for the first one and the reboot, and I was so disappointed that I just really wanted this game to be more than... I really wanted it to wow me, and I just really wanted it to be so much better than that first game, and, you know, so far it's not met that... I mean, that's a very high expectation, maybe, but, like, it hasn't met it yet, and I'm still so far into it, but... You know, that could all change, we'll see. So basically, we're going to see a little glitch near here, I think, where one of the characters kind of holds back a little bit when they should actually progress, and then they just kind of reappear. There's a lot of that kind of... so he's at the doorway. I'm supposed to dispatch like 3 dudes here, and then he's supposed to follow me through, but doesn't, and then he just appears on the next sequence. You'll see. So I'm just looking at these 3 dudes, I'm thinking, shit, have I got to kill all these 3 like without them alerting anyone? How's this going to work, kind of thing? And I was like, maybe I'll get closer, I don't know. Thought, well, he's still at the door. So that's interesting. I was like, dude, you're gonna fucking help me or what? I just do this shit on my own. So I just did it anyway. There you go. And then I figured, hey, you know, he's gonna follow me because that's done with, right?
Yeah.
No, he's still at the door. I was like, okay, fair enough. So I'll just go on to the next section and see what he's doing. So this kind of has happened like 3 times, I think, since I started playing the game, and this is only really about an hour into the game, so that's not good.
No.
So like I'm about to breach again. This is something you deal a lot, and you'll see. Honestly, he's still over there. What the fuck? There he is. He just appears out of nowhere.
Well, he's quick.
He is quick. So breaching's something you can unlock different ways to breach. They're all pretty much the same. You might have noticed earlier, I unlocked the crowbar breach. You always kick the door in anyway. So whether you use the tomahawk, the shotgun, or whatever, it doesn't really make a shit's bit of difference because you pretty much kick the door in anyway. But hey, you know, it's all good. It's kind of one of those things that ultimately it makes no difference. It's just another thing to unlock, and I guess it's kind of okay. It doesn't really add anything to the game. It doesn't.
Maybe they'll expand on that in future iterations.
It's little things like that just seem like, well,
that doesn't feel very fleshed out.
Yeah, it's like, we could have different ways of breaching. Yeah, okay, cool. How's that gonna work? Oh, you just do stuff and then you kick the door in anyway, and it's all pretty much the same shit. And it just felt like it could have been a bigger idea, like a better idea, something that kind of made not so much made more sense, but like kind of made a difference. Like really unlocking something actually gave you something like useful that changed the outcome of something. Maybe I don't know, but like I don't know. So yeah, we're just gonna see a lot of shit being bombed right now. Yeah. Like I said, this is all stuff that's been done in other games, and most of the time, it's been done better.
Yeah.
Or on par. And I think that's the problem with Medal of Honor. I just feel like because we played so much, there's so much Call of Duty out there, it's done so well. It's
trying to be something that's already been done.
Yeah, and it's just like you're just kind of playing catch up at this point, and I think that's a real shame because it could have been something more.
I have to say, I'm not that impressed by the water.
I mean, obviously, like because you're not playing it right now, and I'm not playing it right now. I can't. I should really be commenting on how the game plays, how it feels.
Yeah, that's just
and
my next question.
It doesn't feel very fluid. Like it doesn't feel like the one thing that Call of Duty does well. And I know I sound like a fucking fanboy by saying it, but it makes you feel like a badass. It kind of, you can. It's almost too easy, right? It just.
It feels very tight and very controlled.
Yeah, exactly, absolutely. You know that, you don't have to be perfect shot. You can a few fairly well placed shots will do the trick, kind of thing. But it feels like you need to be way more accurate. The guns have like a lot of kickback and stuff, so we just skip a whole section there where we just kill people. Let's go on to another section where we kill people.
Okay.
Yeah,
better people.
Yeah. It's a little bit more interesting, and yeah, obviously you get that marker when you make a headshot. That was something that was carried over from the first game, I think. It doesn't. You unlock stuff with breaching if you get headshots while breaching. Right, that's the only time I think headshots really make any difference whatsoever. But it will tell you if you get a headshot, like that was a headshot. Yeah, apparently. But other than that, there's no real kind of point to it. You got a headshot. Okay, cool. That's what I mean. There's a lot of stuff like, okay, well, you could have made that mean something.
Yeah.
If you go into the trouble to tell me I got a headshot, it should count towards something other than an achievement or whatever.
Yeah.
You're telling me this. Why doesn't it matter? Why doesn't it? Yeah, there's no headshot. What? It doesn't do anything. It just kind of. And it's something. And it was like that in the first game. These little things that kind of exist.
Yeah.
I feel need to be justified. There needs to be a reason for it to exist.
Yeah. Do you think it might be like a throwback or something from the multiplayer, maybe?
Possibly. I mean, I don't know. I don't know really. Like, possibly. I don't think there's much point to it though. I don't know. I'm skipping again. It's just like, why carry something like that over into a single player mode? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't see the point in it. But there you go. So anyway, yeah, just shooting dudes. It is another headshot. I feel I'd take out some of the cover, but there's no more dudes left. So, but it's cool that I think the kind of the big thing of. I know this isn't a DICE game. I know this isn't Battlefield, but the big thing about Battlefield was the destructible environments. Yeah. And it feels like a step backwards because, this is kind of. I want to say kind of from the same pedigree. It's using their engine and it's sort of, kind of, a similar franchise made by similar companies. Yeah. I feel like there should be more in the way of destructible environments. Like, we've taken a step backwards. Yeah. Because that used to be a big thing, I remember, way back, Xbox PS2 days, we had Criterion Games brought out Black, which is a first-person shooter with, semi-destructible environments. And, alright, it wasn't... At the time, it was a pretty amazing game. Look at it now, it's not that technically amazing, but back then, it did a better job of destructible environments than this game does now. Yeah. And it just feels like... I know that might be a lot to ask from an engine that's running so much stuff at the same time, and there's a lot going on, but
like I said, Battlefield did it.
Battlefield managed, it didn't bring destructible environments in the way that where it felt like almost anything could be destroyed, but it did it in a way where if you're in cover and stuff, and if you're not it depends what you're sort of in cover behind, but like they can shoot holes in it or take the cover down, that kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
This feels like there's only certain things that you can shoot that will get destroyed.
Yeah.
And it just feels like it just doesn't feel like it just feels almost like they shouldn't have bothered. as bad as it sounds.
Yeah.
So skipping forward some more. I mean, yeah, this is what I mean. Like, there's so much skipping forward that it's like they're just drawn out sequences of just.
Yeah, the fact that you've had to move on to
more
interesting bits.
It's kind of like I don't want to rag on it because like I'm sure like there's definitely things about this game that I think are alright, you know, and I do really want to like this franchise more, but I always feel like it kind of. It's stuck in the past. It's not doing anything.
Yeah, it's not progressing.
It's not progressing too much, and it's like it's using the tech there. You know, it's using the Frostbite 2 engine. You know, one of the most advanced engines out there at the moment. It's still in its infancy, really. Let's be honest. But like, it just doesn't seem to be doing anything with that either. Like, it has all this potential, but it doesn't really seem to like do much with it.
No.
And it's a bit of a shame. But there you go. I mean, you know. That's just how I feel. I mean, other people can have a different opinion of it. That's fine, but you know,
that was a little bit of destruction there.
A little bit, yeah. But it's like that one wall or whatever.
Yeah.
Or those particular walls, which look fucking awful when you're up close.
Yeah. I wasn't going to say anything.
Yeah, look fucking awful. A headshot. Yeah. Like, I mean, I know, like, to be honest with you, the whole first-person shooter thing is very stale. It desperately needs to be life.
Yeah.
They need to do something different with it to make it just interesting and just breathe, you know, new lease of life and stuff into it. And it can't. You get games like this, and it's like, you know, this is from EA. It's, you know, it's
evil.
It's from EA. It should be like, you know, they should have really gone all out, and they made a lot of promises because the first one was really not that well received, and even they admitted how bad it was.
Yeah. And
like, I just feel like, you know, it was all talk. I mean, you know, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I haven't played through all this yet. Oh, headshot. Like, I just feel like I just wanted so much more out of it. I don't even think I was wanting that much more out of it. I just kind of wanted some kind of give me something I haven't already done a million times in a million different games, and you know, or just show me something I have done, but show me it so much better.
Yeah.
And they can't even do that. So, like I say, I don't. It sounds really bad because it's like I don't want to rag on the game, but like that's kind of all I've done so far. And yeah, I don't know. It's a shame. It's a real shame because, you know, it has every right to be as successful as Call of Duty. You know, it's got a brand name. It's a franchise that people know, and you know, when this game, well, when Medal of Honor was first being made, obviously they were World War II shooters, just like every other shooter that was out there. But you know, it was very popular. You know, it did what it did, and it did it well, and it kind of paved the way for Call of Duties to come along. And because without Medal of Honor, I don't think we would have really got Call of Duty. And you know, it's a shame that it's kind of been reduced to this now. Like, that it's playing catch up to copying, or it's playing catch up to Call of Duty, and it just feels like you guys were like on top. What happened? You know. Yeah, I'm not saying people may think differently. They may think this is a much better game than, you know, I think it is, but I don't know. After playing like a couple of hours, I just really thought that it should be impressing me more than it has. And you know, I think if it can't impress you that much in the first couple of hours, or at least in the first hour, really, then they've really missed the whole point of it. Yeah. More shooting of people, but we're going to get to do it from a helicopter gunship.
Excellent.
In a moment. So yeah, that's something. It's kind of nice to change things up and shit, you know. Can't really argue there. But like I said, it's still been done, you know. Yeah. It doesn't really bring anything new, and that's a real shame. And like I said, I really want to like the game, but I just...
Unfortunately, you don't.
Unfortunately, I keep finding reasons not to. Like, I just think, oh, that doesn't look as nice as it should, or oh, that's been done before, that was so much better, or blah blah blah. You know, this is kind of a fun sequence, kind of cool. But
again,
you've done it all before, and it's just like it looks cool. Like there's a fucking hell of a load of sparks and shit flying everywhere. That's kind of awesome. But you know, your gun overheats way too quickly. So they've purposely tried to make it like not challenging, but just like you have to really like you can't just go all out and go ape shit with the gun. You just kind of have to like pace yourself with it. You know, so they kind of spoil your fun a little bit.
Yeah, things like that where it almost makes you see the numbers ticking away in the background.
Yeah.
Rather than just kind of feeling organic.
Yeah, you just want to be like you've got this badass sequence. Nothing's gonna fucking hit you. You're just like, I could just mow down these motherfuckers, but you're going overheat so quickly that it's like, no, we're not gonna let you go apeshit with the minigun. We'll make you wait and use it in like short bursts. You know.
If anything, it takes you out of the experience.
A little, yeah. I mean, you know, it just feels like why? I mean, I don't know. It kind of annoyed me a little bit because it was like this sequence could have been like way more fun to play.
Yeah.
You know, and it was quite short-lived too. Don't get me wrong. Like that was like barely 2 minutes, and then we're back to kind of the grind. But we're going to kind of wrap up the whole Medal of Honor thing, and I know we've been very negative on it, or I've been very negative on it, but I can't help feeling the way I feel about it. And well, you know, I'm sure people that really like the game, and you know, like I said, it's impressed me more than the first one, and you know, I will continue to play it, and you know, we'll just see how it goes from there. Okay, so moving on to
other end of the tunnel.
Yeah, moving on to Call of Duty Black Ops 2. You know, anyone who's a fan, and there's a lot of fans out there, pretty much would have got this game already and probably played this and blah blah blah. But hey, no, we've got to talk about it. It's funny, like a year ago we were playing Modern Warfare 3 in game night.
Yeah.
And we missed out on Battlefield 3. We kind of felt bad about that because like we planned to do it, but it was like we overran on our schedule and stuff, and it would have taken a lot longer to get everything done. But hey, you know, at least we kind of this year we can kind of pit the two. I don't really want to pit them against each other really, but we kind of have to, I guess. Yeah, Black Ops 2. Interesting that it's you know, set semi in the future, like 2025, I think.
Excellent.
And there's some cool tech and stuff which you're going to see a little bit of. This is one. It kind of jumps back and forth because it tells a bit of the story about some of the stuff that happened after the first Black Ops.
Yeah.
So
which I have to say I actually really enjoyed.
Yeah, which is a great fucking game that just kind of had this whole Manchurian Candidate kind of story, and you know, it just exactly, and it felt like something fresh for the Call of Duty series for once.
I mean, as someone who doesn't play first-person shooters a lot, kind of out of my comfort zone. When I first played the first Black Ops, I sat there and I completed it, I think in maybe 2 settings, but over the course of a night and a morning.
Yeah.
I just sat down and I just played it, and I loved it.
It was a great game, and like they've tried to do something different with it by, I mean, there's nothing that hasn't been done in, say, Tom Clancy. I think what was it, the last Tom Clancy game that came out, the Ghost Recon Future Soldier. Yeah, I guess that kind of beat that to the punch here, but like sort of set not too far in the future, but far enough that warfare's changed and it's more about technology than, you know, brute force, etc. And then kind of contrasting that story-wise and gameplay-wise with like the style of, like the older style of gameplay from like Black Ops and stuff. Okay,
we just need to talk about what we're seeing now, because you know, like I say, Medal of Honor very much in the realism and all that. This, we've played it for what, a minute maybe, and we've swung off mountains, and now we're in a wingsuit. That's kind of
it does put it in perspective a little bit. The kind of juxtaposition between the two games.
That looks awesome.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, I was going to bring this up, but like obviously Frostbite 2, we mentioned the engine, we talked a little bit about it and stuff. Well, we talked a lot about it, but this is running on like an old engine developed by id, I think, and it's the same engine they used for Call of Duty 2. They've been using it for a long time.
This is the thing.
It looks so fucking good though. It's still, I mean,
this is an old engine utilised to its best, whereas I think Frostbite is a new engine that's not really.
It's still finding its feet. Yeah, absolutely. No, like the thing is, it's like there's so much going on, and the frame rate's just fucking amazing. I mean, we can't really see that right now because obviously the video you're watching isn't running at 60 frames, but like.
But I did watch you playing a little bit of this earlier, and I will say, it is. It's pretty
solid,
smooth.
Very smooth, and that's quite important, I think, with certain things like driving games and shooting games. I think 60 frames should be fucking default, but there you go. I just think there's so much more going on, and it just looks nice, and it's an older engine. I just think it's a real shame.
I mean, it actually looks. I found sort of watching the Medal of Honor footage, you could tell graphically where textures were like blurring at distances and all that. And it very much looked like a computer game, whereas this
is in part and sometimes you can look at something that looks kind of photorealistic and ish. I wouldn't say completely, but so you get to see the kind of almost crisis like sort of, I want to say nano suit, kind of like invisibility cloak type stuff.
Yeah.
But we got a little sight on our gun so you can see heat signatures. That's fucking awesome. Like a nice little touch there, little things. I know like they've had to kind of drag it into a futuristic setting that, there's not a massive amount of realism to Call of Duty games. So it kind of didn't matter.
It's Hollywood.
Yeah, it's the Hollywood first person shooter. Yeah, very much so. And so, dragging it into the future doesn't really hurt it at all. In fact, if anything, it gives you some extra toys to play with, a few more interesting things to do, and like you said, within the first minute of this level, you do so much that you'll not get out of it playing like Medal of Honor or a game similar to it for like an hour hours or at all.
From just watching the footage, it feels more sort of hectic, more kind of in the thick of battle, whereas although Medal of Honor, it's probably more realistic.
It feels like everything's coming at you from one direction, like it's all coming at you and you just have to just keep killing it.
It's very much sort of follow the pattern, follow the orders,
and
sweep, clear, move on.
The level design, it comes down to level design, and it doesn't although obviously it's very, very linear. I mean, that's the thing with these games, that's probably half the problem. But you don't always know where to go, like directly with like the Call of Duty games. Well, you kind of guess, I mean, it's not hard, but like the way the levels are laid out, they're so big that you could get lost.
Yeah.
This is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Nothing that you
no
haven't,
overheating.
Yeah, no overheating. Well, yeah, a little bit actually, but it cools down a lot quicker, and it's kind of like not so annoying, but. Yeah, it's kind of a similar sequence that we saw earlier, but I feel like this is more entertaining and more fun to play. It's one of those things. But,
that's pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's kind of badass. But that's what I mean. That's the whole thing with Call of Duty. You feel like this soldier, and you can just fucking mow these guys down. You've got all this cool shit. You always feel like you have the upper hand.
Yeah.
Like you have the better weapons. You have. Stuff, and it's like with Medal of Honor, you feel too much on par, or that they're overpowering you, or that you're at some kind of hindrance somehow, like
you know what it seems. It seems like in Medal of Honor you play a soldier, but in Call of Duty you play like a universal soldier. Is that?
Maybe that's probably not a bad analogy. I guess you could.
You're like the ultimate soldier.
Yeah.
In this, and
absolutely.
That's what people want to feel. They want to feel empowered when they play.
It's a much better experience. I mean, you're playing a video game. It's escapism. You don't always want realism. Realism's kind of why you play this stuff, right? Because you just kind of want to escape that shit. But like, obviously, I guess realism works to a degree. I guess there's some merit in it, but like.
I'm just being blown away by how hard they push the graphics. I mean,
absolutely.
I'm not sure whether I'm wowed because I know how old the engine is. I know the background and how it looks, or whether it does genuinely just look amazing.
there's a lot of detail in
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is impressive, very impressive for an engine as old as it is, but it's been optimised, and they've worked so hard on like getting everything. I mean, there's still things that don't look perfect, and there's still slight glitches and stuff, but they're kind of less noticeable because there's so much that works about it that looks good, and you're kind of concentrating on that more than anything else. I think But I think out of the two games, it's sad to say, but like I think this looks better and plays better, and it feels better to play, and it just kind of does everything that Medal of Honor doesn't, and it sounds very fanboy, and I hate it, but like, it's even though the experience in some ways is still kind of stale, they've kept it fun enough that you'll play the same game again. Alright, they've put a little twist on it, they've added a few things, but it's kind of enough for most people, and it's probably kind of enough for me to want to play through it. And if I had to pick one game, just one of these two games to sit and play through, I would easily pick Black Ops.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's got a more compelling story.
Yeah.
It carries on from the first one. Obviously, it's a lot of years later, but like it's the same characters. You go back and forth, and it's like the whole. Like I said, it makes the whole point about technology and war and, how things used to be kind of thing, and this is how different it is, and it gives you two very different ends of the spectrum as far as gameplay goes. You have all these cool weapons and all this cool shit that you can do, in 2025, and then on the next level it'll just throw you back to like the 80s where you just got like a fucking horse or whatever, and it just it has a license to be that extreme,
Yeah.
Whereas you don't really get that with Medal of Honor. It's very set in its sort of fogish ways. I don't know if I should say that really. But hey, interesting. I mean, what do you think? Do you agree? I mean,
I agree. I mean, I was a huge fan of the first sort of Black Ops and everything, and I really do want to play this, but
yeah.
Sort of gameplay wise, have they tweaked anything? Does it play pretty much like every other?
It feels the same. There's a lot that's the same. It's not as copy and paste as previous Call of Duties, which is good because obviously they've changed enough so that they can't really do that. But
there was after the first Modern Warfare, and I think before then, there was always this sense that Infinity Ward were the prime. Call of Duty makers, but I think
it feels like it switched a little.
Yeah,
and Treyarch are kind of bringing.
Yeah, because Treyarch really did put the twist on it. I mean,
absolutely.
I played Modern Warfare. I played Modern Warfare 2 because I think you maybe played them both.
Yeah.
And then I got to Black Ops, and I was just, like I said, my mind was blown by how different it was, how compelling it was.
Yeah, I mean, story alone.
Yeah,
it's enough to keep you playing it, and I find that this isn't quite as, it doesn't feel quite as compelling. It doesn't. It's a shame because it's got like a really high caliber of game to kind of live up to. Black Ops was a great game, and I think unfortunately it is gonna disappoint in some ways.
Well, you're invisible now.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think I think it's going to disappoint in that it's, for everything that it tries to do differently and add some kind of a fresh thing, it is just a coat of paint on something, and it isn't really anything that's changed. I've heard the zombie mode's really good, like they've done some cool shit with that. Like I haven't even had the chance to try that out. I haven't had the chance to try multiplayer, but ultimately it's the same game over and over again. You can't deny it, but have they done enough to kind of
Well, there's the cliched adage that if it ain't broke, don't fix
of course,
it.
Yeah, and I agree
whereas,
with that.
Whereas this has proved time and time again that they're fun, enjoyable games, and whereas Medal of Honor hasn't quite got there yet.
No, yeah.
They need to build it before they can fix it.
True, yeah. That's one way of putting it, I guess. But I feel a little conflicted about Black Ops 2 though. It's still that fun game that I've played every year.
Yeah.
But that's it has some twists on it. It does some stuff. It has the futuristic stuff, which is really cool. A lot of it. I like the story again so far. I like the motherfucker. I like the whole juxtaposition of like, you know, go back in the past and playing a mission, and then it has like these little bits in between, like every like 4 missions or whatever. Where you have this almost like it's almost like an RTS type game where you kind of get a mission to defend sort of like a base or something, or several things, and you've got like certain amounts of soldiers and weapons and like shit at your disposal, and you get to kind of place it and say, hey, I want that to go there and I want that to defend there, etc. That's kind of cool. It's something different.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. It's like it kind of doesn't matter, because you can, if you fuck it up, you just skip it and you go on to the next mission.
A bit gimmicky then.
Yeah, a little bit, and that's the shame of it, because I feel like, you know, I don't know. I do feel a little conflicted. I feel like I want like the same experience I had with Black Ops, but I'm kind of not gonna get it.
No.
Because they have changed some stuff. It's kind of the good and the bad thing about it, really, is that it's a double-edged sword, because it's like, it's good that they've tried to do new stuff. It's good that there's, you know, futuristic shit, and there's, you know, all these new weapons and stuff, and I enjoy that stuff, but at the same time it feels like, okay, well now you're going the other opposite end, and now it's kind of like, well, you know, is that gonna really add that much compared to, like, because I mean Black Ops was all set in the past, but it was kind of all
it was sort of more contemporary, because it was the recent past as opposed to, as you were saying earlier, World War. It was an interesting point in history that is still relevant, still has effects to this day.
Yeah, absolutely.
People can remember it and talk about it.
Yeah.
Whereas this has a slightly more fantastical element, I think,
True.
and therefore loses a bit of credibility.
I feel like it has kind of lost something, whether it's like, oh, well, you know, this is Black Ops, I know kind of what to expect, etc., etc. It's still gonna be a fun game. I'm still enjoying it so far. You know, like I say, here's another weapon where it spots targets for you. That's pretty cool.
Awesome.
You know. But yeah, interesting. It's an interesting little debate, I suppose we could get into, really, as to, like, you know, if they just brought out another Black Ops 2 and it was kind of just a continuation of the story and didn't have any of the futuristic stuff, would that be better than having this element to it? Or would it be better if it was just all set in the future? Or, you know, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. It's like, on one hand, I really enjoy this stuff, but I enjoy the kind of going back into the past and kind of seeing what happened to the characters from the first game and how they got to where they got to and stuff and all that kind of shit. And, you know, I think that's more, story-wise, that's more interesting than what's happening in the future. And I think that's kind of the problem. Like, the gameplay from the future stuff is more fun, but the story side isn't.
It's kind of a bit of Assassin's Creed syndrome.
Maybe.
Whereas all the main story happens in the past.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they focus too much on that. I mean, I think that's probably an interesting way of thinking about it. I mean, that may be the thing for me that, you know, I like the I like the gadgets and the stuff. Like, they've done some cool shit though. I mean, they've kind of done this thing where you can change your loadout between missions. Like, so I mean, especially if you unlock some stuff, you can go back and play that mission with the stuff you've unlocked.
Excellent.
You know.
So it definitely has replayability.
It has some replayability. They kind of, I know they boasted a while back that it was like, they had this whole, choose your path kind of, you know, sort of thing. How many, you know, as far as I've played into it, which isn't that far, I haven't come across any of that yet. So,
like you said, this game has only been out, how long have you had it, a day?
Yeah.
So, and granted, you've probably not played as much of it as
true.
You wanted to. So it'd be interesting to get your thoughts on it. I mean, for me personally, we're not going to be able to do it because this is really just kind of a first impressions. But once you have finished the game, see what your opinions are there.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. I think it will differ. I mean, I'm not down on the game. I'm not as impressed by it as. Overall, I'm not as impressed. I'm impressed by certain elements. Like, it looks great, the sound's good. You know, the futuristic stuff's fun. There's sort of the story from the older, like the past sections is good.
Yeah.
You know, there are great elements to it, but I think overall I feel like, okay, this is Black Ops 2. I was kind of more excited of the idea of playing it than actually playing it, I think.
Yeah.
I don't feel like, oh my god, I've got to play this. I can't, you know, like you said with the first Black Ops, you played it like pretty much straight through.
Yeah.
I don't see me doing this.
No.
With this game. Like, I just don't see it. But, yeah. Like I said, I think the fact that it's set in the future kind of, it loses some of the realism it kind of had from, you know, I mean, it was kind of cool.
Like I said, some of the credibility.
Some of the credibility, yeah, because obviously it was set in places and times that actually existed, and you know, the Vietnam stuff and the Cold War shit, and like kind of, you know, this is kind of all stuff that we probably will never happen. You know, is 2025 going to be like this? Who knows?
Yeah, it's speculation.
It is absolute speculation. But so, you know, it's maybe that's the problem. I don't know. But hey, still a lot of fun to play. I'm still enjoying it. Like so, maybe I'm somewhat disappointed.
Ooh,
yeah, that's gonna leave a mark on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Skip a little bit of the bullshit. But if it feels pacing's better than Medal of Honor. The Call of Duty games have always been paced slightly better. You know, I actually really like that gun. That's fucking spray like a motherfucker. But yeah, I mean, like, there's still something missing. I think that's the thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's something. Maybe it's just Call of Duty and first-person shooters in general. I'm just missing some of the wow factor behind it. Like, yeah, there's cool weapons. Yeah, there's some cool settings and some cool little story things they've done, and you know, there's some neat little touches. And I feel like I should like it more. But there's something that is lacking, and I don't know. I can't quite put my finger on it, but
I think it might still suffer from that. Been there, done that.
So yeah, there's going to be some fatigue with this because it's. I think the FPS genre in general is, you know, stale and like, you know, for everything they've done to try and make this feel different, I think. Well, I feel like you know, it's all been kind of in vain because I don't think it at this point it's going to take something way more drastic to kind of give you that kind of amazing wow factor back into the first person shooter. I don't know. Could just be me. There's Tony Todd.
Hey. But I think the Call of Duty games are probably the only games this generation that you've played religiously every year.
True.
So you've already sunk. So you're kind of. It's all kind of old hat to you, really.
True.
I suppose. So you know.
I mean, this could be impressing people all over the world right now, but like, I feel like there's something that. Like for all, like I say, for all the cool shit that it's like, oh wow, cool, you know, fucking batsuits. Oh, okay, we're gonna talk about this in a minute, but like,
look at my horse.
But
my
like,
horse is amazing. Sorry, that's all that goes through my head now every time I see a horse in anything.
Anyway, so yeah, like, you know, it does gameplay wise, it changes things up a bit. It's, you know, it does some stuff, but I feel like I should like it more, and I feel like there should be something more there that I just don't feel like this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Like, you know, maybe it's some of the action set pieces that are kind of missing. It's more, maybe it is more formulaic, and you know, stuff's there, but it just maybe isn't as epic.
I mean that first minute or so was pretty awesome, but then it kind of got back into the old sort of Call of Duty tropes, I think.
Yeah,
and
maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, give it time, but you could say like give it time and maybe it'll grow on you and all that, but sort of thing. I remember Black Ops being blown away pretty much from the beginning and being drawn in.
And I think that's what I expected, and I didn't get that straight away.
Yeah.
And I think I was like, oh, okay. I expected more from it sooner. There's the whole thing. There's a whole like instant gratification with games like this, because there is no. I mean, Call of Duty's become such a staple of the first-person shooter genre that it's like they've completely scrapped the whole thing of tutorials.
Yeah.
Like, you know how to play this. If you don't, then where have you been? You know,
Go get the first one.
you don't. Yeah, you don't. There's no point in having a tutorial. Like they used to get that at the beginning of every game. Here's how you shoot. Here's how you throw a grenade. Here's how you do this. You know, it skips all of that.
Yeah.
And you know, in some ways that's, you know, well, if that's a good or bad thing, I don't really know. But like, it kind of just goes to show how everybody kind of can pick up a controller, and even if they're not really familiar with the controller, and just say, hey, this button does this button does that.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of all really obvious at this point, and I don't know, it's a testament to how big Call of Duty and FPSs are. But like, I don't know, it also kind of sucks.
I have to admit, that's one thing I found slightly odd about Assassin's Creed, is that the first 6 hours of it or so is tutorial.
Yeah.
On stuff that you know how to do, and granted, yeah, they have changed some stuff up and they have changed a few bits, but I don't think it required 6 whole hours of teaching me how to do it. So
yeah,
there are, for tutorials, there are pros and cons for everything.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Well, that's it. That's all we've got time for. Thank you for watching. You know, we kind of rambled a little bit, and maybe seemed a little down here and there about certain things about these games, but I feel we shared our opinions, and these things maybe needed to be said. If you disagree with us, that's completely cool. You know, we ain't gonna hold that against you. It's your opinion. Anyway, what?
but you can go suck it.
You can go fuck yourself. But anyway. I hope you had a good time watching this episode, not seeing us for once. We will be back with the last ever Games for All game night, which is going to be Far Cry 3. And we're not even sure... Hey, that might not even fucking make it out, so if that doesn't, then with this is the last episode. But hey, here's hoping Far Cry 3 sometime later in the month.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
That'd be cool. We'll be back on camera for that one. Anyway, if you want to see more episodes of Game Night, check out the gamesforallpodcast.tumblr.com. We have everything on there we've ever done. Or youtube.com/gamesforallpodcast. Likewise, everything we've ever done is on there. Yeah. Facebook.com/gamesforallpodcast if you wish to like us on Facebook. Or if you want to follow us on Twitter, it's @gamesforall. Pretty much. And we have an email address, it's thegamesforallpodcast@gmail.com. Maybe share your opinion with us about those games and stuff, and you know.
Check out our good friends over at the Underground Geek Network.
Yeah, you're just reading stuff now.
Yeah, I know. Well, you can do it, I can do it as well.
Okay. Yeah, but it sounded more like you were reading than I did it. Anyway.
I do not know what you mean, Daniel.
Okay, so thank you very much. We hope this has been entertaining as for you as it has for us, and we hope to be back very soon with Far Cry 3 game night. Suck
Awesome beans.
Suck it.
Suck it.